as an approach. Now, generally, if you talk about data architecture, we have a data source like I talked before. Then we have a Lakehouse, bronze, silver, and gold. So what that means is basically nothing but the value of your data. So bronze is basically oftentimes it's just the landing stage. It's maybe not where your files or the data is really originates from, but it's just the first place, a stage where your data gets you into a database. So usually you don't do any um, transformation here. You just collect the data here and put it into. So in the second part, you have the possibility to clean your data a bit. Like I said before, maybe you want to split data, maybe an rest with the house number here. That will be here, and in the next part, you would have basically the business structure of it. So the business query, the business logic of it, you would actually have basically the possibility to transport the data into access layer or presentation layer, how it is often called, so that Power BI could be used. Lakehouse Gold, I like to use Lakehouses, but at this point, like I said before, you also could use the warehouse within Fabric. So this is also a possibility you can use. What I'm also doing is, as I said before, basically that I like to log things. So I understand, for example, when did I receive the data and get this into a meta lakehouse, how I call it, basically just to collect the data and know what happens. So if there's some kind of a failure, I understand which place happened what. So also what kind of error happened there. So also in the future, if I have the same problem again, I would know that in the past I had the same problem. What kind of problem could happen here? For example, of course, a lot of times if you transform data, especially here actually, so the most difficult part here is during the ETL or ELT phase. So the extract transformation to load phase or extract load to transformation. This is actually something that is quite similar to each other. So it's actually just the same thing. Actually, so the order of doing what is a bit different. A lot of people say, and I agree to this, actually there's no difference, because if you think about it, if you're smart enough to just have some small transformation that is not worth to load, for example, let's say you have a CSV file that you want to load with 100 columns, but you only need 50, and you know that you will never use all 100 columns, then you actually also just can say, okay, I want to only load those I really need and do the transformation later. So, but here, that's not here. I'm saying here is not really a strict rule, but everything is basically allowed what helps. But you should do it in a manner that is logical. So if you, for example, have a bigger solution, it can be helpful that you have really a clear idea on how you want to approach this. There is also a possibility, by the way, to have more stages than just 3. Some people say, okay, we need actually maybe 4 or even 5 layers, but generally don't overdo it. Sometimes it actually can be helpful just to use 2 stages, especially if you have a smaller solution, an easier solution, everything is already pretty much clean and so on, then you actually don't want to use 3 layers. So something is that to be pragmatic and also understandable. If you do exceptions, make sure that you really document this. And we also will go into this a bit later, because notebooks are also a great way of documentation, as we will see later. So at this point, do we have any questions? Okay, seems not to be the case. Then I guess let's go further. This approach obviously has advantages and disadvantages. I already said before, we have the possibility of an easy oversight over data consumption. We have logging loads. We can actually also track data quality. We even can do reports of it if you want to. We also will see this later. We have also data analysis over time. We have the possibility of a faster and easier failure fixing, especially if we are using notebooks. And we have a very high quality documentation because we will know what happened, let's say 1 year ago, because maybe, let's say, a failure happens always around Easter. So then we have to maybe think what happened last year at Easter time. This is also a common complication that we have basically because Easter has a longer weekend for many people, and this has to be brought into consideration sometimes for databases for some reasons. For example, let's say before Easter or during Easter, we don't get any data because the business is not running, but because it's weekdays, for example, then we will still have getting error that actually isn't error because it's just an exception of that time. So what that means, we also have the possibility to go back and look back and see what patterns do we see we had in the past years. Well, there is also disadvantages, of course. We will have lower load speed because, of course, we will use some compute for extra load. We also will need a bit network. We will have so we do calculations, kind of write this in another database. So we have a bit lower speed. Of course, it needs programming knowledge, but we have the possibility to solve this also relatively quickly. I will go into this a bit later as well. It can add complexity as well. So this is also why architecture is important. So within a good clean architecture, you will also have a better overseeability, a better clarity of what happens in which stage. So you have also an easier way to solve a problem if a problem should occur. And of course, the initial workload, you have to set up everything. You have to also think about it, how you want to solve this. So why a Milton Lakehouse? Just generally, a very common problem is here. We have a CSV file, and this is something that really is common. It happens a lot, especially if you have a new CSV file that you get, or a database for that matter. It doesn't really matter what kind of source you have. You read 10,000 of rows, but then you realize something happened here, and I lost 1,000 rows. 1,000 of rows did not land in my target database. So this is a common problem we want to solve. We have with the Lakehouse for this as well, because this really can make it easier to understand what actually happened. So, for example, we will have the possibility to see quite immediately with some reports, we only received 9,000 uh, rows, not 10,000. Finding errors without this kind of logs can be very cumbersome. So especially if you, for example, have characters in your source files or in your source data that are not visible. One of those could be, for example, tabulator space or multiple space or any kind of characters that are not visible, that is inside your code, or a character that actually should not be allowed. Imagine if you have, for example, a phone number, but someone taps in an email address, for example. That also can be something that can cause errors. The last example would be a data type conversation that actually also date could be a problem. For example, date, let's say 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock that actually can also be read as a text, put in as a text, but oftentimes you want to have a data. So the data type date time basically. So you have the possibility to also search for it better than just with strings. Yeah, of course, we want to automate this. We want to solve this problem as quickly as possible, and with PySpark, we of course have the possibility to find this very quick. So, for example, we can count how many rows we have, how many columns do we have you read, for example. So, if we get the data, we usually also create a table, and the table defines how many columns, for example, are in there. So if we read something into the stage, let me go back here. If you read here something and we realize we have less columns that we actually wanted to read, or even more, so suddenly a CSV file got broader than it used to be, then we also can get errors here, for example. It's also a common problem. Are there any nulls? Nulls is also very important in terms of data knowledge. So if you have a null within a database, this is in almost every database. This is an important concept to understand. And null means not zero. It also doesn't mean empty string, for example, because null is the meaning of null is it's an undecided value. Okay, that, for example, means you have let's say we have a survey, and someone did not answer a question, then you have basically null there. So it's not decided, the person decided anything. So that's a different situation as in someone tapped something into it, but it's an empty string. Why is this important? Because in computer science, we try to work with information, and information also empty string can be basically information. That's also very important to understand. There are actually some very important consequences to it. So, for example, if you want to look for, let's say we have a query, select asterisks from table where column is null, for example, then you will get an error, because where is can't look for an undecided value. So that's why you actually need to use select asterisks from table um, where is null. So you need to do a special function for it. What you also can do, for example, is doing math with null, for example. So this is also not possible because, obviously, if you have an undecided value, you cannot calculate with it. So this is just a basic theory to that. But we also can use collect string lengths, which is also can be important. I said before, oftentimes what you can occur is that you have different string lengths, but you don't see visually the strings lengths because people use space or another invisible character. So this can also be important information for you. If you log this, you can also calculate this and see find errors that way. Of course, always use DevOps or DataOps. Sometimes it's called out as well. I think DevOps is a bit more the better term because otherwise you end up with SecOps and everything else ops. So DevOps in that way, if you really want to have a specific term for it, you also can use the DataOps for that. So in my view, actually, what I see as a DevOps is you have to plan your solution, you build it, so you actually deploy it. You have also build in terms of software engineering, maybe you have to deploy it, to prepare the deployment and continuous integration, then continuous feedback. Continuous integration for before testing, then you have deployment into production, then operate. You have continuous feedback. So you have actually something that you maybe notice within infinite ribbon, basically an 8 kind of thing. This is basically the same thing, a bit more for the data. To have the continuous integration as well. It could be also go over multiple environments, so you really have the possibility to test. So I personally like to work with 4 environments at least. So that means for devs, so the environment for the developers, then you have a SIT, then you have UAT. SIT is integration, then UAT is the user accepted test and the production. So it also can be actually a more layers depending on the solutions. For example, some banks actually have even on top of a user accepted test something like a pre-production environment to test real data before this real data goes then into the production if they use a masked or anonymized data solution in the previous environments. So important here with the continuous feedback as well, and also to understand what actually happens is also logging and measure. So it's actually pretty much also the same thing. Again, we want to understand what happens in our solution. We want to understand what happened in terms of measurement. Imagine if you get more and more data, then it can happen that the data load gets longer and longer and longer, up to maybe 8 hours or in 10 or 12 hours. So that means basically your data load will then actually take longer than a whole night. So you might want to understand, okay, what happened, and you have maybe have to go to your manager and say, we need actually more power, or we need to improve some solutions, improve some bottlenecks to improve this. And exactly this is why you want to have this. So logging measure here is really important. So do you have any questions so far? If not, I will prepare my screen for the demo.